I follow my gut feeling in everything I do. That's probably the most consistent thing about me, is that I always follow my gut feeling. Even in situations that I don't have, let's say, knowledge about, intelligence about a specific topic, I always go back to the gut feeling. I don't know what the gut feeling is. It's probably a spiritual thing on my part, but I feel safe following my gut feeling. And that gut feeling has translated even into, training with the barbell. This is something that I find a lot of security in, a lot of happiness in, and it's never really led me astray. Some 45 days ago, I introduced wide stance squats for the first time in a very long time. I don't recall the last time I ever did a rep of wide stance squats. And the following 4 days, I was in absolute agony. So bloody sore. The adductors basically immobilized me. Looking at the journal around that period, 4 days after I did those first sets of wide stance squats, 4 days after that, I attempted a 270 kilo deadlift. Now, I don't attempt PRs when I plan to. I don't plan anything. So the fact that I attempted 270 tells me that I was feeling really good on that day. Obviously, 4 days from introduction of the wide stance squats to me feeling really good, that's not really a causation. But it does make me think. Whenever I try doing sumo pulls, whenever I try to do sumo deadlifts or sumo squats, as I call them, they're really just wide stance squats, I feel as though my lower back is really exposed. And I've thought about this for a long time, and I don't understand why that is. The back angle is probably even more vertical in the wide stance than it is in the narrow stance, yet I feel exposed in my lower back when I'm in a wide stance. So I do these squats, the wide stance squats, and I feel like I'm really training my lower back. I have a feeling it's something to do with the hip flexors and something to do with the adductors. The way the adductors influence the pelvis, the way the hip flexors influence the lower back. It's a different position for them, and it must challenge those muscles in a different way. And then when I go back to my narrow stance, normal deadlift, I feel really secure. It's really, really strange, but I feel really secure. Right now, I'm sore. I am really sore, and I struggled to get through today's workout. Did some wide stance squats to warm myself up, felt a lot better. But I am projecting tomorrow I'm going to be really, really sore. Usually Dom settles in the worst at 48 hours, around that. So they've done it to me again. Wide stance squats, man. If you ever want to train your adductors, just go wide stance. Don't worry about the good girl machine in the gym. Don't worry about the Copenhagen planks. Don't worry about any of this stuff. Just do wide stance squats, man. And do them to parallel or even below if you can manage it. You're going to feel your adductors. Now, I probably have an extreme situation because I always do everything narrow. So whenever I go wide, I really take a beating. It probably screams my adductors are weak. It probably screams my adductors need to be trained in this position. But the soreness is unreal. The only thing I can put up at that level of soreness is probably when I do good mornings, with a somewhat straight legs. That produces DOMs in the hamstrings like nobody's business, almost debilitating as well. Adductors and hamstrings, man, it's unreal how sore they get. And I've spoken about this in the past, and a few of you fellas have said it's the eccentric loading. It's that stretch that really gets muscles. And, the muscles which are involved in the posterior chain are usually the ones that get that sore because of the eccentric portion. It's that lengthening, that loading. I'm going to try to do wide stance squats tomorrow again. I'm going to try and follow my gut feeling with this, because when I do these wide stance squats, man, it just feels right. I mean, today felt horrible, as in sore, but it just makes me feel right. Just a gut feeling, man. And when I listen to Louis Simmons, I'm listening to a lot of Louis Simmons again. It's almost like the gut feeling is telling me, listen to this man more. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but something is drawing me to Louis Simmons. Something is drawing me to this information. It's almost like some force out there, some spirit is telling me the answer is in that thinking. What Louis Simmons is preaching, the wide stance squats. Something about wide stance makes my hips feel amazing. Right now, I want to say something that's probably going to bite me in the bum later down the track, because my mentality will change. But I feel like the cure for my hip pain or my hip troubles is just wide stance squats. That's a bold statement, and if I could sit down with you right now and go through my journal, the 2.5 freaking books of writing that I've done, you will see that I've probably made at least 20 pages dedicated, full write-ups, whole page write-ups of me saying I've worked out my hip pain. I've worked out my hip pain throughout the last 5 years. You know, there's been several, you know, occasions where I felt confident that I've kind of nailed it down to a particular movement, nailed it down to a particular thought. Man, I feel like I'm onto something with this hip pain. I'm onto something with these wide stance squats. They just make me feel good. And the fact that even on really crappy mobility days, crappy strength days, I can come in, not even worry about any mobility routine, no activation of any other muscles. I went for a run. That was it. Come down, grab the bar, straight into the bar. This is something that I haven't done for years, man. It seems like my mobility has gotten worse as I've gotten stronger. Seems to be the case now with a lot of people. The more strength you get, the worse mobility you get. So you're always kind of like chasing your tail. But with these wide stance squats, I can just literally come in, put my bag down, pick the freaking bar up, walk it out, and to go straight into wide stance squats. It's a liberating feeling knowing that I can just start squatting in this position, whatever, like completely free, completely mindless. Just get the bar out and start squatting in a wide stance. You do 1 set, 2 set, 4 sets, 5 sets. By the 5th set, you start to kind of notice that you can go narrower and narrower, and all of a sudden you're quite close to your normal squat width, stance width. So, and whatever the wide stance squats are doing, and it's more complex than I probably am thinking about it right now, I'm identifying it. But the adductors are being lit up, the hip flexors are being lit up, my lower back is weirdly engaging, which is, like I said before, I don't understand the mechanism behind it. And all of that stuff that's happening, when I go back to narrow, I feel like I'm on a freaking holiday. I feel so strong. I've warmed up the outside of the hip flexors, the glutes in the external rotation kind of phase, which they're required to kind of work in a wide stance squats more so than a narrow. In a narrow, it's just pure hip extension, it seems. But when you go wide, there's a hip extension component to the glutes and also external rotation. By the time you get to the narrow, it just feels so good, man. It reminds me of when you do front squats before back squats. You know, when I do that, it's like, oh my God, my upper back is on a holiday when I finally get to the back squats. So there's my gut feeling is telling me you got to be doing this. And I'm not even talking about like getting a 5x5 at a decent weight or whatever. I'm just talking about freaking moving sub-maximal weights, man. Like 30%, you know, stuff, 20% stuff, empty bar stuff, you know, wide stance. Just makes me feel freaking good, man. That's the gut feeling that I have. And the gut feeling is drawing me more and more to Louis Simmons. If you get good at wide, you're going to be good at narrow. But the opposite is not true. And that, to me, to my gut, feels right. Appreciate all of you guys. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.